Okay, good afternoon. Thanks for coming out on this holiday weekend, but just some closure on the Austin Peay game and then moving forward. First of all, 800th program win. I don't think that should never be undervalued. That's something that's very, very, very special in the world of college football. That's part of our tradition, and there's only 8 total teams in all of college football that can speak in those terms relative to winning 800 plus games now in their program. And so again, I want to thank all the former players, the coaches, and everyone that has really laid the foundation and the hard work for this football program. Looking at it, going into the Austin Peay game, we wanted a very clean game. For the most part, I thought it was a clean game, but nobody at all in our football program should be satisfied with their performance. We have a long ways to go. We have a lot of work to do. And, as we continue to move forward, I said that after game 1, I'd have a little better idea of where we're at as a football team. And I do, and I know where we need to move on and where we need to improve. And I think it gets back to all of our players being accountable and understanding what it really takes to play winning football and the commitment level that is required to play winning football. And we talk about power of the position and every position group playing winning football. And it's individuals, and then it becomes a collective effort. Going from week 1 to week 2, to me, this is the biggest week in the growth and development of football teams. And the greatest growth and development occur from week 1 to week 2. And so obviously this week of preparation is absolutely critical. First of all, concerning ourselves is great improvement in our fundamentals, the small details, owning our technique, owning our conditioning. Now we've put our football identity on video. Now every team is studying us. They're seeing which players they're going to attack. They're looking at their technique. They're looking at their eye discipline. They're looking at their fundamentals. So now that's when you're really going to see the game forms or the game plans really being formed and shaped towards our personnel. And our players will understand that. Moving forward with Western Kentucky, extremely, extremely talented football team. Knew that in the summer, and everything has been confirmed by video evidence. A lot of NFL prospects and a lot of confidence. They're an extremely confident football team, and very rightfully so. Andrew Williams is as good of a linebacker as I've seen in a long, long time. He can impact the football game. He can change the course of a football game, and I think they feed off his energy. Jonathan Dowling, the free safety, another NFL football player. These players understand what it is to compete in these venues. They have a great running back. I think the quarterback has really managed their offense. Last year, they led their conference in total defense. And again, they're going to present a lot of challenges for us. Very, very sound in the special teams game. They remind me a lot of our football team that we had in 2009 at Central Michigan that finished in the top 25, went on the road, beat a Michigan State football team. They have NFL personnel. They have swagger. They have confidence. And they believe that they can play with anyone and everyone in the country. And I think that's been evidenced by their body of work over a period of time. I'd like to thank our crowd for coming out. It was the 4th largest crowd in the country this past Saturday night. I want to especially thank our student body. They were outstanding, and we're going to need everyone now. Your time clocks change. It's a noon game, and everything becomes a little bit different. And we need everyone there to help us win and impact this football team. So I want to say thank you to our student body, and we need you. We need you again, and we need our fans. And I just want to thank them for the great experience. But it's time to move on. And we're playing a very, very talented football team Saturday afternoon. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Which you talked about it being a clean game, obviously no penalties. As far as your secondary went, were there many busted assignments, or were they really playing a clean game as well?
The thing that I wasn't particularly fond of, or that we need to make great strides, is our eye discipline. We had way too many, what we call eye violations, and peeking in the backfield, reading the eyes of the quarterback instead of putting, see a little, see a lot. And, the one wheel route they hit up on the sideline, our corner was peeking in the backfield and got run by. So that was a mental error there. But just the overall eye discipline, being much more physical in our reroutes of wide receivers. So we have a long way to go in our back end, especially from the small details. Again, it gets back, John, to what we talk about, playing winning football and truly understanding the fundamentals and the small details that it takes. But everything in the back end of your defense is about eye discipline. And, especially in our younger players, they're all relatively young, but, in our younger players, is you could see the lack of discipline at times with their eyes. And so that obviously is always a point of emphasis, but it'll be emphasized even that much more moving forward this week.
Butch, have you played against a Petrino team, and also what are your thoughts about him as a coach?
Have played against him twice when we were at West Virginia. We had 2 great games in 05 and 06. I want to say the game in Morgantown was, I believe, a 3 overtime victory for us, and then we had to go play at Louisville, and they came up. So, he does a great job, obviously, of preparing his football teams. They're well coached. They're very dynamic on offense. They challenge you defensively just because of the different personnel groupings that they do. They always do a great job with their tight ends. They mix the formations up, their different tempos that they present to you, breaking the huddle, no huddle, all the different things that really keep a defense on their edge, the difference in their cadences. So we're going to have to be extremely disciplined. They do a great job of creating, matchups, backs on linebackers, receivers on linebackers. So they do a great job, and now that's why I said, our identity is on film, on video from the first game, and now you're going to see more matchups that teams try to create against us.
How often have you reminded you guys of that Western Kentucky result Saturday? How much have you brought that up if it being an SEC team, or have you needed to bring it up?
Well, we have great respect for Western Kentucky, and I think our players understand they're extremely talented, and they're going to be a great challenge for us. And, where we're at with our football team, you respect every opponent. But all you have to do, again, is all you have to do is watch a couple clips, and they have your attention. They have SEC talent, and they've gone on the road and played Alabama when they were number 1. They've gone on the road and played at LSU when they were number 1. They understand the different venues, and they're extremely competitive. They're a competitive football team. You can see it in the way they play the game. They have a great competitive spirit, great competitive character. So it's going to be a great challenge.
You mentioned your identities on tape when you go back and watch your own film. I mean, whether it's a percentage or what. I mean, how much of your offense did you show in this past weekend?
Well, we showed the base and some other things, but we'll continue to progress as the season goes on in terms of offensively and different formations and different sets and different things. But, each game plan, is modeled towards the opponent that you're seeing, the front, the coverages, and all the different things. So, as each week progresses, you'll see a little bit of a different flavor just because of the different style and opponents that we'll be facing.
Coach, so many first-time players in the game. In the time since, have you noticed a change maybe in their attitude, or have they relaxed, or they seem more confident, or just getting in the game?
Yeah, I do. I see confidence. I said it after the game. I thought we benefited from that open practice. I really do. Especially we had 23 individuals make their Tennessee debut Saturday night. And I think having that experience of playing in front of fans prior to that really helped. But, you could also see the lack of discipline at times come through, in the first-year players, and lack of experience. We get back with the eye discipline and peeking in the backfield and all the things that first-year players and those mistakes they make. But the great thing is all the mistakes that we made Saturday night are correctable. We still, effort-wise, still not up to our standard and our expectation. We have to do a much better job of pursuing to the football and swarming to the football. Same thing offensively. I didn't think we finished in the offensive line. We didn't finish blocks. We didn't finish blocking at the second level. Now when you go play an individual like Andrew Williams, and their entire linebacking core is extremely talented. They do a great job of getting off blocks. They have disruptive quickness up front. So we have to learn to do a better job of finishing, and that's usually the case, in game 1. And I think the big thing for our football team when we get back and we review the films today is nobody nobody should be satisfied in their performance. We talk about pride in your performance. And there's a lot of work to do, a lot of ground to be made. But I will tell you this, our kids, I said it, they hang on every word you say, and they're learning how to win, and they want to win. Now it's just going to be a process.
I know that obviously you said that expectations don't change no matter who's on the field, but I guess the number twos are generally number twos for a reason. But were you surprised at the lack of success, I guess, they had in the second half of that football game?
No, I think when you look at it, we still won the second half 3-0, I believe. So that's the way I look at it is, I think shutouts are hard to come by in college football. They're extremely challenging, and it doesn't happen very often. But also, that's where we're at in the program. I said it when we started training camp. We lack overall depth, and that's an issue. But games like that really help because now we have a teaching tool. Now I know really where we're at. Now I know really where we need to go forward. And we can coach and critique and correct all these individuals that put their game on video. But, the only way you solve that is by recruiting and developing your current players. And I think you know how we're going to recruit here. And, that's how you develop a program.
Were there any, I guess, individuals, a couple on either side of the ball, who showed you a little something that made you thought these guys could help?
Well, I think Salisbury did a great job up front, and I talked to him this morning, and we see some explosiveness out of him, and I think it's all in how he perceives himself. He can help us. He can help us win football games here, and so we're going to need a lot more from him. Greg Clark's another individual that, I liked his body language at the end of the game. I wanted to see when those 2s and 3s were in the game, I wanted to see their competitive spirit. I wanted to see their competitive character. It doesn't matter what the score is. You're getting an opportunity to put your identity on video, to prove that, hey, we can win with you. And they do that every day in practice. Even the individuals who are on scout team, we evaluate every rep on scout team. So again, we just have to continue to progress and get better each and every day. That's the only way you do it, is you come to work each and every day and you give everything you have, you go home and you get ready for the next day.
But when you went up 42-0 at halftime, did it cross your mind that you didn't want the score to get embarrassingly out of hand, like 84-0 or something like that?
Well, I think it was a tremendous opportunity to play some young players, and get them some valuable reps, and you can simulate game conditions all you want, practice, but, nothing beats live game repetition. So I thought it was a great opportunity to really give some individuals an opportunity to prove themselves of what they can do in game live situations. And I think that's going to be invaluable for us as we continue to move forward.
Butch, scripted plays offensively going into games, and how many do you script? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we do script plays, but everything is about a rhythm and a flow of a game. And I think sometimes when you script too many, you never come back to what you're doing successfully. So we script, every down and distance is scripted, every field position scripted, the first plays of the game are scripted, all of our openers are scripted. But then once the game really starts and after the first series or two, you really get into a rhythm. A lot of times you may throw different personnel groupings out there so you can write it down and see how they're going to defend different personnel groupings and formations, and then it kind of becomes a chess match.
Butch, unless I missed it, I don't think Marcus Jackson played. Are you leaving the door open for a possible red shirt there, or what's his status?
Well, I think that was an opportunity to give some other players some valuable reps, and we'll continue to address Marcus's situation as we continue to move forward. It's nothing that he's done. He's had a great training camp, but I think it was an opportunity for other individuals to see what they can do, and we know what we have with Marcus, and he's a very, very talented football player. But I said it is my concern with this football team, especially in the offensive line, is our overall depth. Number 6, number 7, and number 8. So Saturday night was a great opportunity to be able to do that.
On the offensive, second team offensive line, a couple of guys on the depth chart didn't dress. So did that impact the effectiveness or lack of effectiveness maybe?
Yeah, it did. And we had some individuals who were banged up. Dylan Wiseman wasn't quite ready to go yet. So again, that kind of setback. But again, it was a great evaluation tool, from where we're at currently and what we need to do in recruiting as well.
Coach, Justin only missed 2 passes, but you didn't really hit anything, have a guy take off, the 50-yard run. Was that, just a little bit of timing off, not, freshman receivers?
Yeah, it was a combination of both, and I think a lot of times, when there's an incomplete pass, a lot of times everyone wants to point towards the quarterback. And a couple of the throws, obviously Justin would have liked to have back there thrown behind the receiver, but everything is about rhythm and spacing and timing. And actually it was a young receiver not running the correct depth of the route. So that's what threw the timing and rhythm off. And that's so much as we talk about being consistent in the throw game and in everything that you do with the precision. Everything is timing and rhythm and spacing and appropriate landmarks and reception areas and depths of the routes. And on a couple of those, the receivers ran the wrong depths.
After watching the film, and just in general, what did you think of Justin's performance?
I thought he played winning football for us. I thought he was in command of the offense. I thought he managed it well. I thought there was a couple times when he was challenged with the decision-making process where he had to make a quick decision. One time we had an unblocked defender. He had to beat the free heat, and he knew exactly where where Devin Young was supposed to be, and he did a great job. So, I thought he managed the offense particularly well. There's a couple, deep balls that we'd like to have back. We have to be able to complete those, and still, the overall big play makeup of our football team. We have to have big splash football plays. In the world of college football, you can't play perfect. When the play is blocked for 4 yards, we can't get 4 yards. We need to get 6. We need to get 7 yards. We have to have the ability to throw a 3-step slant or a 5-yard hitch and turn a 5-yard gain into a 30-yard gain. Our running backs have to do a good job of making the second, third level defenders miss. You look at successful offenses, they have the ability to score on any area of the field. And that's an area that we have to grow and continue to get better.
Which I know that the pass rush is something you want to improve upon, and I just wondered how many cases you've had where you've had like maybe average pass rushers become good pass rushers. How difficult is that to elevate somebody's level in that regard?
Well, there's so much that goes into being a great pass rusher. And the first thing is your feet and your hands. Being violent, being explosive with your hands. The best pass rushers, they have great hands, great hips, and great feet. And then there's a point of working the edges of a defender. And if you think about it, you really have about 1.9 to 2.7 seconds to run an 11-yard arc to affect and impact the quarterback. So everything has to be thought out. Everything has to be habitual. It's all about habits and making quick decisions and understanding your points on the quarterback. And there's so much thinking that goes in game planning and understand, when the tackle is heavy on his pass set, understanding is he tired, having a great counter off your A move, and Steve Stripling's the best in the business, and it's a process, and it's learning to do things fast. And a lot of times, especially with younger players, the mind ties the feet up. And so it's just doing it repetition and over. But there's a lot that goes in to impacting the quarterback. But also, if you really break down sacks, we look at wins, but there's also what we call opportunity sacks. Very rarely do you just flat out beat your man. There's team sacks. And what does I mean by that? It means the defensive end doing his job, forcing the quarterback to push the pocket. It's the nose guard getting a great inside internal push up front. And because the quarterback is forced, the backside end spins into it and gets a sack. And those are opportunity sacks because everyone else is doing their job. And so we talk about that every day, and those are the elements of being a great pass rushing defense and a great pass rushing football team.
Speaking of the players that became good pass rushers.
Yes. You look at Dan Giordano, who's now with the with the Arizona Cardinals, who unfortunately got hurt and is on their injured reserve. Walter Stewart, who's now on our coaching staff. He developed into a great pass rusher. Frank Zombo, who's with the Kansas City Chiefs. Coach Stripling, Coach Lamar Woodley. Coach Stripling has Pecco from the Bengals. I mean, you look at it, Derek Wolf is a great illustration, of how far he's come from, when we got there to where he's at right now. And I mean, he'd be a great resource for you to talk to. So yes, we've had a lot of individuals, but it takes time and it takes a commitment on their part too. And it takes a mental toughness, that mental conditioning that we talk about, because you never know which play is going to be the difference or getting a sack. And then the mentality when it becomes 1 minute, 1 minute defense, that's time to get paid. There's no mystery. They're throwing a football, rev it up and go. So there's so much that goes into that.
Dan Hood had an interception and I think a tackle for loss. Mo Couch had a sack. What's your kind of confidence level in those two guys and McCullers as that defensive tackle, and how vital are those guys to your defense?
Well, they're critical, and we'll go as well as they go. And, I thought they were disruptive in the middle. They made some good plays. I think Mo Couch has to continue to progress with his conditioning levels, and be able to give us valuable reps. But, we have some older players in that group that have played a lot of football, and we expect a lot from them, and we demand a lot from them as well.
Coach, is there an update on Jacquez Smith? And did you happen to see him on the sideline? He was really getting into it, I guess like you would want a leader to be, really trying to fire up the fans and the team.
Yeah, one of our awards we give is the Juice Man Award, and it's the individual who displays the most juice on the sidelines. I like energy, and he was into it all game long. He was into it at the hotel, and obviously it was hurting him not being able to be on that field. But again, it'll be a decision that we'll make throughout the course of this week with practice along with Kurt Majit. Right now, it was a relatively clean game in terms of health-wise. We'll know more on Kurt's status and Jacquez's status as the week progresses, and there's no depth chart changes as of this time as well.
What did the young corners gain Saturday night that might help him? Bobby Petrino passing the back.
Valuable experience, but they will be challenged. And again, you could see the eye violations accumulate over time. I think they were a little bit anxious. There were times where they jumped routes. They were anxious, but I saw what I've seen all camp. I saw a competitiveness to them. I saw a poise about themselves, and I saw a confidence about themselves. And they're going to continue to be work in progress, and they're freshmen. But they're going to get challenged Saturday afternoon, and they know that, and we understand that, and that's why that progression from game 1 to game 2, they're going to have to mature and grow up in a hurry.
Which a number of players in the games this weekend had issues with the heat. Were you pleased with that aspect of your team, the conditioning part of it?
I was, but as we continue to move forward, we didn't play a full game. And so that's one of the points of emphasis that we will be making this week is, we had some individuals only play 33, 34 snaps, and usually there's 70, 80 snaps in a game. So that is an area of concern that will demand a lot from them this week in practice to make sure. And we always talk about owning your technique, but also owning your conditioning. And so we'll do some different things to really make sure that they're in condition. But they've had a great camp. We've pushed them. We have a great strength and conditioning staff, so we are in shape. But it's more, I think, more the mindset. I think that's the big thing is the mental stamina, of not telling yourself you're tired. And that's where that toughness, that mental toughness comes in, and the ability to sustain. We always talk about straining and sustaining, and I wasn't pleased with our overall sustain. We have to become we have to be a team that has to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's part of those conditioning factors. That's part of playing winning football. The teams that win football games, they're mentally tough. They're mentally strong. And we always talk to our players in terms of controlling your self-talk. Self-talk is everything. You speak about 600 to 800 words a minute in your mind. You have to control your self-talk. And so those are all things, and we talk about playing winning football. I know you guys probably get sick and tired of hearing me say that, but there's so much that goes involved in it, and championship teams do that.
But you talked about the need to have splash plays. I think you guys only threw it down the field, I think, one time on that pass mark plays. Was that part of the game plan, not to throw it deep? And who do you think is your best deep threat receiver right now?
Well, we threw it, I believe, 4 times deep. And, we have some individuals that are capable of making big splash football plays. And there is a couple times where, we have the perfect play call and we have an MA, where that's supposed to be a deep football. And it's a young receiver making a young individual's mistake, but we can't have those mistakes. The more you win, the more that's at stake. The more as this season progresses, the caliber of competition increases. And so, again, Saturday is going to be a great test again to where we're at as a football team and how far we've matured and developed from game 1 to game 2, because like I told you, they're extremely talented.
On Saturday, some of the guys were saying, I don't know if they have their numbers right, but you snapped it 16 times with 20 seconds or more left on the play clock. What's your goal? I mean, I'm sure it changes a little bit from week to week.
Yeah.
What's kind of ideal?
The tempos change up based on the situation, but I thought we played slow. We have to do a better job of getting lined up fast and playing faster. And then the ability to strain and sustain when you play fast. A lot of times when you play fast, your technique kind of, suffers. The ability to sustain suffers. And we don't want to be that. When we've played great offensive football in this offensive scheme, we were able to play at a very high tempo and never relinquish the ability to play physical and play fundamentally sound with the small details. And that's part of that mental conditioning. That's part of that development process that we're working right now through as an offensive unit.
Did you see the shortcomings in getting to the ball, like in between plays, or pre-snap, getting the call into the sidelines after guys were lined up? What did you think you guys had to do?
Yeah, I think there was a couple times where, our receivers were kind of digesting it, but I thought for the most part, they did a good job. When I talked about a clean game too, when you play in that type of game, it challenges you with special team substitutions. It challenges you with having the right people on the field, and I thought our game day management for the most part, our coaches and our players did a great job with that, but again, the ever flow of the game is constantly changing with substitutions and injuries and all that. And, we're going to have to play a 4-quarter football game this week, and it's going to be right down to the wire. And that's got to be our mindset with everything that we do.
But you talked about how Western Kentucky is extremely talented, but only about 4 years ago, they weren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it to build up a team like that in such a short period of time?
Well, it's extremely challenging, and then, you get a benefit of a couple transfers and, 1 or 2, 3 players can change your whole football team, and not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, from an expectation standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. All it really takes is 1 or 2 individuals that have that high standard of expectation, and they bring others around them. And I always said is the mark of great football players is they elevate the play of others around them. You look at all the great players, you look at the Michael Jordans, and look at all the role players during the Bulls runs. You look at LeBron James, you look at Dwayne Wade. That's something that Eric Spoelstra and I talked about. Is the great players make others around them that much better from the standard, their work habits, their expectations, the competitive drive to win. And that's something that we have to continue to recruit here is individuals with great competitive character. That, we want individuals that hate to lose more than they love to win. That if you give them a challenge and if it's racing to the water, the drinking fountain, they're going to race you to the drinking fountain. That's why everything we do is based on competitiveness. That's why that question of getting back, in the second half of last week's game, I wanted to see what individuals could run on their own gas. What individuals had that competitive character, to be the best. Hey, I'm out there on the football field. I want to be the best player out there on that football field. You know, we talk about terms of blinking lights, you know, and that mental mindset, you know, is now, like I said, are you the guy that when they're game plan and they say, ooh, you know what, we're going to have to double team him, we need to stay away from him? Or are you that type of guy that they're sitting there with the clicker saying, you know what, he just got exposed, we need to game plan him, we're going to take advantage of him? You know, and that's what happens is, you know, there's great coaches around this conference and throughout the country, and they sit in a dark room and they watch video and they study technique, and now everything is a matchup. You know, my guy on your guy. You know, and that's what it comes down to. And that's why we always say good players make good coaches. And it's up to the coaches. Good coaching is putting your players in positions to succeed and win their one-on-one matchups. Football is a game of one-on-one matchups. It's me versus you.
Coach, the running game on Saturday night, you mentioned the splash plays. I guess that was as close as you got to one with the Rayjon's run. Were you satisfied with the running game?
No, I wasn't. You know, I thought we left a lot of yards out there. You know, I thought Rayjon Neal's first touchdown he did a great job in terms of keeping his shoulders square, hitting the jump cut, and then finishing the run. You know, I thought it was one of the best runs he's had. And Jason Kroom did a great job of blocking, you know, at the receiver position, and he had the key block. And usually when you have big runs, that means your receivers are blocking downfield. But I thought there was too many times we bounced things to the sidelines. And then I think the other thing is, you know, a 4-yard run is good. You know, and I think a lot of times we were bouncing plays, looking for the big play instead of, hey, let's get 4 yards first and then look to make somebody miss. Too much spinning, too much lateral. You know, I want to be a football team that hits it vertically, has the ability to make somebody miss, and then hit it and go north and south, run behind your pads.
Thanks, guys, very much.
Thank you.
Brent.